When Conrad said,
"Listen, about last night, can we just forget that it ever happened?"
"About last night, can we just please forget it happened?" He's not taking back or taking away his love confession. You guys, I'm seeing so much dialogue on this and people saying that he was taking it away like he used to do. He wasn't taking it back and he wasn't taking it away. Nowhere in that statement does he say, "I didn't mean it," as he said at the end of season 2 in the motel. Nowhere in that statement did he say, "I'm taking back my I love you." He just in that moment wanted to say to Belly that they could forget that it happened because he wasn't met with the response I think that he was hoping for, and it's clearly very awkward between the two of them now. Belly clearly does think that he's taking it back. I think she's triggered and she's taken back to, that moment in the hotel where he confessed his feelings for her the night before and the next morning he took them back. And we even think about what she says to him the night before on the beach where she says that Jeremiah loves her and he doesn't ever take it away. So when Conrad says that he would like to forget that it happened and he was drunk and out of line, Belly is very clearly triggered and upset by this, and I think in that second she does think that he is taking it away, as she said Jeremiah doesn't do. I think in that moment, with her heightened emotional state, she's not paying close attention to what he's saying, and maybe in that moment not realizing that he's not saying that he doesn't mean what he said when he told her he loved her. He's just kind of trying to save face by, saying let's just forget it ever happened, as he mentions later on in this scene that he just wants to walk away with a piece of his pride. She even says this to him.
"Oh my God, you haven't changed at all."
She says, "You haven't changed at all," implying that emotionally she's right back where she was 4 years ago in that motel room, hearing Conrad tell her that he didn't mean it after telling her that he has feelings for her. But again, that's not what's happening here. And when she says, "Oh, you just want me to forget it," Conrad replies with this.
"What are you saying, that you don't want to forget?"
And I really did like that he has a glimmer of hope there, and he's kind of being a little bit cheeky amidst all the tension that's going on between them, and perhaps maybe hoping that with her implying that she doesn't want to actually forget it, that it might mean something more. Of course, this is again very triggering for Belly because she thinks he's just playing with her emotions, which is something she's kind of suspected him of doing throughout the entire series, to be honest. And even though we know as the viewer and the reader that that's not the case, he was not ever really playing with her emotions. His feelings for her have always been very real. From her perspective, that is her fear. That's always been her fear, that he's playing with her emotions. In season 1, I did a few of those deep dives on proof that Conrad was yearning for Belly. I will be continuing those, by the way. I just need to get through the season 3 content first, and we will get back to those maybe after the finale. But I mentioned in those that part of the reason in season 1 that Belly thinks it's not really realistic that Conrad could actually like her is she has these because she's insecure back at that point, she feels like he could just be playing with her emotions and toying with her. So here we are seeing that narrative come up from her again several years later. At this point, there's, I'm not even sure, roughly 5 to 6 years between the beginning of season 1 and the point we're seeing now, and she still has this insecurity that Conrad might just be playing with her and toying with her emotions. So then we have another factor in this scene that I thought was really notable, and it's the fact that Belly is getting really kind of frustrated and emotionally affected by Conrad every time he says her name. She says it a few times, he'll say her name, he will say Belly, and she will say to him, "Don't say my name." And each time it happens, she gets increasingly upset. Let's watch it here.
"What did you expect me to say, Belly?"
"Stop saying my name!"
You can see here how much it's getting to her every time he says her name. And it made me think of a key moment from season 2 that maybe doesn't seem like a key moment, but it's when Conrad is away at his first year at college and him and Belly are having their nightly phone calls. And there's one scene where he says her name, he says Belly, and there's this kind of pause, and you can see her sort of get really affected in a positive way and excited, and there's kind of a flirty tone to it, and then she says, "Yes, Conrad."
"And Belly?"
"Yes, Conrad."
In this moment where we are back at season 3, I couldn't help but remember and think of that moment from season 2 when, they were just starting their journey into a relationship together. And for her, him saying her name was just so exciting for her. And I think that might be actually why now it's bothering her so much to hear him say her name. I think it really affects her. I think it reminds her of, the level of, influence that he has over her emotions. She feels a lot when he says her name. If she didn't feel anything for him saying her name would not be something that affects her this heavily. So then Belly says another thing that I find really interesting.
"I'm supposed to let you stand up there with him on his wedding day?"
She seems really concerned about letting Conrad stand up next to Jeremiah on his wedding day, and it seems to be coming from a place of wanting to save face for Jeremiah, not have him look stupid, having his brother who's in love with his bride standing there next to him. And I think we've seen this repeated pattern with Belly wanting to make sure that Jeremiah looks good and wanting to save face for him. And I just find it interesting in light of the fact that Jeremiah, I don't think really does this back in return for Belly. Everybody knows that he slept with Lacey in Cabo. All of his friends know. We talked about it, in the previous episode. It's something he was laughing about with his friends in the bar. Everybody knows about it, and he doesn't seem to be concerned with helping her keep her dignity in the same way that she is doing for him now. So then when Belly asks Conrad to just leave,
I want you to leave. I want you to make up one of your bullshit excuses, and I want you to go to Boston, to California. I don't even care where. Just get out of here.
I'm not leaving, Belly.
Go. Just go. Go.
in my opinion, it's not because she actually wants him to leave. It's because of the fact that what we've seen over, the culmination of everything from season 3 is that Belly can allow herself to pretend that she's not in love with Conrad if he's not around. And she can allow herself to pretend that Jeremiah is the right one for her and that they're going to, ride off into the sunset together as long as Conrad isn't around. This might be a controversial statement, but I truly believe the only reason that Belly and Jeremiah's relationship has lasted 4 years at this point is because Conrad has not been around. And I think that's what she's getting to. She may not realize it. It's not maybe something she consciously realizes as she's saying this, but when she's asking Conrad to leave, she needs him away from her so she can continue to go forward with this wedding. She's had all these doubts since Conrad has come back, even if she hasn't really said them out loud up until, more recent episodes. She's been filled with doubts because of Conrad's presence, because Conrad's presence reminds her of how she feels for him. So no, she doesn't want Conrad to leave so that, she can have her lovely wedding to Jeremiah. She wants him to leave because as long as he's there, it's a reminder of her true feelings. So when Conrad says this next part, I want you to really pay attention to Belly's facial expressions.
What do you want from me? I laid myself fucking bare last night. I put it all out there, and you shut me down. And now here I am, trying to let you off the hook, trying to come out of this with a little piece of pride, and you won't let me have that. You broke my heart last night, Belly. Is that what you want to hear?
He says that he laid himself bare last night, she rejected him, and that he's just trying to let her off the hook. And when you watch her face when he says that, it's like her heart is breaking in front of us. Like she has so much emotion on her face. It obviously affects her so much to hear Conrad say that he laid himself bare, she rejected him, he just wants to walk away with a piece of pride or dignity. She can say that she doesn't care about him all she wants, but you just see it written all over her face. It's just like the way her face subtly changes expressions. She is hurting so much in this moment. And this is why I still have empathy for Belly. I've said this so many times. You will not convince me to be a Belly hater, even though I'm so team Conrad and I just love Conrad's character so incredibly much. I also love Belly's character. I think she is in a complicated situation. She's 21. She's going through a lot of confusing and conflicting emotions. And you see it all over her. You see it in her body language. You see it in her face. This isn't easy for her, and I don't think she's taking any joy or enjoyment from breaking Conrad's heart. And I think the best part about the fact that Belly can't hide her emotions and they're written all over her face during this entire scene is we're listening to this song in the background, You Two, With or Without You, and there's a lyric that repeats that says, you give yourself away, and it's just so poetic. It's so perfect song choice. She is giving herself away. She's not admitting to anything verbally, but she's giving herself away with her body language, with her facial expressions, with how visibly affected she is by Conrad and by this conversation. In fact, watch her face in this next part where he says, you broke my heart.
You broke my heart last night, Belly. Is that what you want to hear?
This is absolutely killing her. I feel for them both during this argument. Everything that they have pent up inside is coming out, and it's so hard on both of them. And it's just emotions are running high. They clearly both care so much. My heart went out to both of them during this scene. Lola Tung and Chris Briney also did a fantastic job during this scene. I was blown away by both of their acting, actually, during this whole episode. So then Belly accuses Conrad of being heartless.
You really are heartless.
And Conrad kind of counters by saying, no, actually, I think it's you who's heartless.
I think it's you who's heartless.
What is that supposed to mean?
So the heartless comments, I really want to talk about it because I think it's important. I actually don't think either of them are heartless. Like I've said, I have empathy for both of them. I love both of their characters, and I don't think either of them are heartless. I think they're both dealing with some really complicated emotions. They both don't know what to do. Belly's kind of in this, if you want to say, she's dug into this hole where it isn't the easiest thing to just leave Jeremiah now. I know there's a lot of people saying, just leave him, and there's the jokes and the memes about how she should just cheat on him, but it's not that simple. I don't actually think she wants to hurt anybody in this equation. Neither of them are heartless, but both of them are heartbroken. But Belly does seem really defensive when Conrad says that she's heartless, and she wants to know exactly what he means. And it's obvious that comment kind of struck a nerve for her. And when I was watching this, I kind of thought to myself in the ways that Conrad could view her as heartless. And even though I don't think she's actually heartless, I think I could see where he's coming from in coming to that conclusion and having those feelings when 4 years ago, after their breakup, she did kind of go straight to Jeremiah. I think she had her reasons. There's a lot of factors that I just don't think we have time to get into in this video, but just to be really, brief about it, she was also grieving Susanna. She was grieving the idea of not having any attachment to the Fisher family anymore, not understanding the magnitude of Conrad's grief, and not understanding because of that why he pulled away from her. So there was a lot going on for her at that time. But her actions, I think, at that time in doing that, obviously came off to Conrad as heartless, because Conrad was really hurting. He loved her. He didn't pull away because he didn't love her, but obviously that's how Belly perceived it. And as we know, everything just spiraled from there. And during the scene, I couldn't help but wonder if there's a piece of Belly deep down that knows he must feel that way. And maybe that's the part of her that is obviously like it struck such a nerve when he said, no, actually, I think it's you who's heartless. And I guess he kind of touches on that in an indirect way when he says this.
Tell me what you mean by that.
You know what I mean by that. I love you. I will never not love you.
Because what I think he's implying as we build up to like this really important part of the scene where he says, you know that I love you, you know that I'll never not love you. I think in a way he could be indirectly implying that you should have known back then that I loved you. You should have known that I didn't pull away because I didn't love you. And I think that might be what is sort of leading him into this statement. And then when you layer on top of that, the fact that when they spent so much time together this summer, they had so many moments where it was very clear that they had feelings for each other, and both of them kind of could sense that the other one felt that way. So he's pointing to the fact that, you know, she can't any longer claim that she doesn't know. Even if there was confusion for her 4 years ago in why he pulled away, she now really can't claim that she doesn't know anymore how he feels. And again, her body language when he says that, when he says, you know, I love you, you know, I will never not love you, you see her kind of tighten up. And you see like this flash of a look across her face. It's just like that statement that he makes just is like a gut punch for her. So she denies knowing, but we also know that Belly is kind of the queen of denying her feelings and denying facts that are right in front of her. So I don't know if it's very reliable to believe her when she says that's not true. Not because we think she's lying outwardly and intentionally, but more because she's just so good at this point at lying to herself. So then that leads them into their conversation about how she says, we dated for a couple months and I can't believe you expect me to know that you've loved me all this time. I covered that next part of this whole scene in part 1 of this yesterday. So please go check that out if you haven't seen it yet. I actually wanted to cover that part first, even though it comes second. But this entire scene of them kind of arguing in the kitchen, it just was, I think, such an important scene in this episode that had so many important scenes, because it's the moment that the truth comes out, the floodgates are open. Even though Belly is still kind of in denial in this scene, Conrad realizes, you know, the truth of what she feels. He doesn't believe her anymore that she has no idea how he feels, or she doesn't have feelings for him too. And I think he gains a lot of relief from this conversation, even though it didn't really have resolution or closure. And even though she didn't actually admit to anything during this conversation, everything that was unsaid points to the fact that Belly does still have feelings for him. And I think he got enough of that nonverbal confirmation from her to give him a sense of relief and to make him feel good about the fact that he decided to finally address this with her head on. Because something that's been rattling around in my brain this whole time is the fact that they never had a breakup conversation. And I know there's no such thing as closure in breakups, but they never really had a conversation about what happened. They stopped, you know, their relationship ended, and pretty promptly Belly jumped into a relationship with Jeremiah, and then they never really saw each other or talked very much over those 4 years. So there really was no kind of digging through what happened. And again, I know that doesn't happen in a lot of relationships, but most people don't go on to date their ex's brother. So there's that sort of component here where their lack of having sort of like a debriefing after the relationship, especially because the relationship ended basically due to a series of miscommunications and people on both sides, Conrad and Belly, not being open about what was going on with them and not being open about how they felt. Everything just kind of got swept under the rug. And we all know that what you sweep under the rug comes out eventually. So that lack of a breakup conversation is actually what I think has led them to this moment 4 years later. They never dealt with anything. Neither of them resolved their feelings for each other. They dealt with it. They each had their own coping mechanisms. Conrad moved to California and threw himself into his schooling and his work while he pined away for Belly. Belly threw herself into her relationship with Jeremiah, didn't deal with the fact that, you know, she lost this person that she loved her whole life very shortly after losing another person that she loved, Susanna. I think sometimes we forget that Belly was grieving in all of this too. And it has just led to this concoction of a mess that has, you know, brought us where we are now. At the end of this scene, when Belly is kind of reeling from their conversation, she says, "No one else has this effect on me. No one." And I'm sure we all remember season 1, I believe it was episode, I can't remember the episode, but it was the 4th of July episode, right before Jeremiah sent the firework their way, the firework that I think just kind of set all of his scheming into motion. But at that point, Conrad had said to Belly,
Belly, you don't know the effect you have on people.
Effect on people? I don't know what you're talking about.
You do.
So what another beautiful full circle moment that we're having. We have a lot of those in this show, and I just absolutely love them because they tie everything together so nicely. So I just loved this scene. It was a perfect way to open this episode. I was already on the edge of my seat. I'm going to keep going. I'm breaking up my analysis of this episode into the scenes separated because there's just so much to unpack. I couldn't do it all in one video. Can't wait to move on to the other scenes because, like I said, this was a very juicy episode.